Good afternoon and welcome, everyone. We appreciate your time this afternoon with us to celebrate National Mentoring Month. Happy National Mentoring Month to all who are mentors, whether you are in a formal program or an informal program. I'm sure all of us watching today have played that role at some point in our lives. So thank you for all that you do. We are here today with three of our honorees from our Mentor of the Year Awards. College Now gives these awards annually. These mentors we will talk to today were chosen from a lot of different nominations this year. They were nominated by their students who are also here today. So we're very excited to hear from them and their students. Please enter questions in the chat here. We will take questions at the end around 4:30. And I'm very excited today to welcome our friend and supporter, Margaret Trimmer. She will be our moderator this afternoon. And Margaret Trimmer is Vice President of Strategic Partnerships for Delta Dental of Michigan, Ohio, and Indiana, a dental benefits company that covers millions of lives. She sits on the senior leadership team, providing expert counsel and direction. In that role, she also guides marketing, public relations, company culture, and the investment of millions of dollars dedicated to building healthy, smart, and vibrant communities. College Now considers ourselves very lucky to be one of the recipients of that grant funding initiative. Prior to joining Delta Dental in 2018, Margaret served for 2.5 years as president and CEO of Junior Achievement of Southeastern Michigan. She also founded and ran university prep science and math schools in Detroit. And finally, Margaret directed communications for the Michigan Education Association, the state's largest teachers union, for 10 years. While at MEA, she started a nonprofit called Your Child. Margaret started her career as a reporter for the Detroit Free Press, co-created the first ever education team, and spent 6 years covering education issues and trends before leaving the paper in 1995. I also know from previous conversations that Margaret herself is a first-generation college graduate and is a proud mentee. She met her mentor at age 17 and is still in touch. So this topic I know is quite near and dear to you, Margaret, and we're quite honored to have you with us today.
Thank you, Madeline. And this is just one of my favorite partnerships. I feel as though it is something I was born to be part of for my entire life. The opportunities that we can afford young people when we get mature in our career, it's really an obligation. So thank you for asking me to do this. And we have an incredible group with us today. I am going to introduce our three partners in this work, three partnerships. And I start with Cowdy Evans, who is with Sherwin-Williams. And she was nominated by Marissa McDade, who's at Cleveland State, and said, Marissa of Cowdy, her ability to listen without judgment has provided me with a safe outlet to express my thoughts and feelings, allowing me to be open about my experience in school, work, and my personal life. Safety is huge, and I can't wait to dive into the discussion with that team. Patrick Russo, who is a mentor from OnStation, was nominated by Andrew Sauby, who is at Cleveland State also. Andrew said of his experience with Patrick, I have a front row seat to witness his ups and downs with OnStation, and although I'm a mentee, I get to insert my perspective when he tells me about a unique challenge as a CEO. And our third partnership is with Reinheld Beam at Cleveland State University. She is a staff member at Cleveland State, and she was nominated by Isra Al-Hashal at Cuyahoga Community College, and said, Isra of Reinheld, she always ensures I'm connected to the right resources and people at the college, empowering me to solve problems effectively. It's a great tee up to have those words from these mentees about their mentors. It's pretty pretty empowering as mentors to hear those kinds of things said about us. I'm going to jump right in with a question to the mentees. And it's really, I think, core to the work of a mentor to understand how does this relationship of mentor-mentee differ from and complement the relationships we have in our family, perhaps with our parents. Mentees, what does that mean to you, the difference between a mentor and a family member, and how you're able to express yourself and learn and grow from a mentor versus a family member? And if you want to just jump in or raise your hand, we'll start. Okay, I'll call on you. Marissa, why don't you start?
I had a feeling I was gonna go first.
I don't know, you're on the right side of my screen, so.
Um, I feel that there's no judgment. I feel that family are usually tougher on you. They have higher standards for you. Well, my mentor, she still has high standards for me, but there was no judgment. Like, she understood me. She related to me on so many levels. Being a single mother, um, going back and forth with activities with kids, trying to maintain everything. Like, she understood me more ways than I felt like my family understood. It's kind of like my family is just like, just go with it. Like, you'll figure it out. Where she just related to me and just, you know, she gave me those words of encouragement that I needed.
Is it a relationship where you fear less with the judgment not being part of it, and you can share things that maybe you wouldn't share with your family?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. I felt more comfortable. Like, I felt like I could be vulnerable with her.
very well said. Isra, how does it differ from a relationship with a family member?
Well, my family gave me my emotional support, while my mentor like approved me, approved my career focused guidance, and helped me to grow in my major and my study. Yeah.
And at the same time, I have a feeling Reinhold was also an emotional support as well.
Yes.
So you kind of got both, where
Yeah.
family, I know when I was moving through my college journey, my parents, having not been to college, really couldn't provide a lot of insight
Yeah.
or advice that made sense to me. They could say, you go, girl, but
Exactly.
sounds like that was the
Yeah.
zone that Reinhold really fit into for you.
Yes.
Andrew, the difference.
Yeah, so I feel like when it comes to family, that of course having that internal perspective is always important. But what I feel like what students often might lack or might not seek enough is a little bit more of external advice, and I feel like Patrick really helps me in that area of my educational and professional developments. Whenever it's applying for jobs, whenever it's having challenges with coursework. And my dad, he did graduate college, but he was a little more of an adult learner. So his brain was fully developed, whereas I'm 21, my brain's not fully developed yet, and just having that nudge internally with family and externally with mentors like Patrick and in other areas really helped me a lot. And Patrick has been phenomenal at that.
Very self-aware, Andrew, to say that your brain's not fully developed yet. A lot of 21-year-olds don't necessarily know that. So kudos, kudos to you. Is there any area in the realm of parent relationship, mentor relationship, where there's tension or conflict or resentment or jealousy? I kind of doubt it, but it's worth probing. Is there ever a time when you say, gosh, my mom would love if I came to her with this, but I'm going to go to my mentor because of that vulnerability piece, or ever tension? that you guys could identify? No, excellent. You've been able to navigate that really well. Let's talk about what you learned from each other in this process. It is a two-way street. Mentor learns, mentee learns. And this is for both mentors and mentees. What have you discovered about yourself or just about the world based on the different perspectives that have been involved in your relationship? Reinhold, you're nodding. Why don't we start with you?
All right, then. Too much nodding on my part. So I would say that a great deal of sort of humility about understanding where other people come from. So I just want to highlight that, you know, refugee and immigrant experiences are different, and that I really needed to learn and listen to Isra, and also understand that Isra is also Isra's family. Like, so big nod. I hope they're watching to mom and dad, Al Hashal, for making all this possible, and sort of understanding like the whole army of people behind you, Isra, right? It's just so beautiful, and understanding I'm a piece of that, as opposed to, you know, the somebody who has all the keys. There's a lot of people with a lot of keys, and it's just beautiful to see. So thank you for allowing me into that, to all of, you know, to Isra, but also to the whole family.
Kind of like into Israel's village.
Yes.
It's beautiful. Howdy, you were also nodding rather enthusiastically. What have you learned from the different perspectives or from your similarities?
Yeah, so I learned was that, I usually have a lot of very busy life, the work, personal life. I, teach, you know, uh, outside of my full-time job and but I learned that, when you want to do something, you can make time. Like I thought that I was at the top for my, capacity. But I decided to be a mentor and, I really care about, Marissa. So I I can put like I can make room. I thought I didn't have a room, but so that was like amazing to me. I was surprised at myself that I could, still expand myself to be supportive for her.
That's a beautiful thing to learn. You want to take on a few more mentees, right? Keep them coming, right?
Sure.
Patrick, what about you?
Yeah, I'd say that one thing I definitely learned, and it took me a little while in this with this relationship of just recognizing where Andrew was in his life, just his age, and what he had as in his support structure and the great pieces there, where I could help, resources available, school options. So often it's very easy to just look at something and, opinions are easy. They're cheap. You can give an opinion and move on and walk away. But to really help someone, you can look at it and say, okay, well, this is where they are. And what's the next step? Not look at it and say, well, if I was doing it, I would do it this way with everything that I know and everything that I have. Not everybody has that. They have different needs and wants and challenges and great stuff. And so just seeing that, it helps you pause and take a step back and say, okay, I need to understand this more to be able to help progress it. And that was important. And that's something that I've used in lots of other areas too, to just not be so quick to say, hey, we should do this. It's more understanding and then make a recommendation.
It sounds like in the mentoring side of this, you really do have to bring some empathy to the situation and to put yourself in different shoes. And as you said, Patrick, figure out what is the space where you can actually add value, right? Given whatever the support network that already exists looks like, what's your value add? And that's a really important skill that we have to do in the workplace every day anyway, right? mentees, how would you add to that answers and those to that question and those answers? Have you learned anything about a different generation? Have you learned anything about just different life experiences and different backgrounds that your mentors brought to the table? Isra, why don't we start this time with you?
Well, I learned from my mentor confidence and goal setting. Yeah.
Excellent. And Andrea, we're going to move into our separate group conversations in a minute, but Andrew, anything?
Yeah. Well, when you talk about other generations, there are certain parts of my life where certainly I'm serving the generation below me, generation Alpha. And just understanding, the challenges, as a teenager, that's kind of when everyone started having phones and the internet came along, whereas they're growing up with it. And so, so sometimes I walk back and I reflect, and I'm not quite understanding their challenges very well. But Patrick said is spot on. You have to be at their level, understand their challenges, so that you can better serve them.
Excellent. Marissa, anything to add before we go into our separate conversations?
I guess I learned that similar to my mentor, that you can always make time for what you want to make time for. I was, skeptical about the whole mentor-mentee program because I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but I am eager and excited that I did step forward into this program. I'm learning a lot from her, and I want to continue to learn from her. So thank you.
Excellent. Now we'll move into focused conversations. And we're starting with Marissa and Cowdy. And you guys have a couple questions you're going to ask each other.
Yes. Yes.
Go for it.
What was your first impression of me?
So we decided to meet at Starbucks, right? And that was first meeting. And I didn't know I didn't know how she looked, or I had no idea. So I went in and, I didn't know if she would recognize, who I was because it was in a public place. But as soon as I looked around, she was already there. And the first impression was that, well, I was like, oh, that's her. And then we saw each other and she had this biggest smile. And I was like, oh my goodness, she had this big smile. And I got this warm vibe from her. And at that moment, I said, this is going to work. Because, that impression gave me energy and wanting to give back. So that's how, that was my first impression of you.
That was my first impression of you too.
Oh, okay.
When you walked up, I said, I'm a hugger. Give me a hug. And when you hugged me, it felt so genuine and so warm. I said, oh, this is gonna work. This is perfect. And then when we sat down and we started talking, it was just like an instant connection. I'm just like,
Yes.
okay, I can open up, I can be vulnerable, I can tell you everything. And then I just start spilling everything. Like, okay, I'm a single mother of 4 kids. I'm in school full time, I work full time. Like, I have so much on my plate. And then you can relate and you understood. And then you gave me advice not only about school, but you gave me advice about work. You gave me advice about my kids. So it wasn't just mentoring me about school. You was able to mentor me about everything.
Yeah, so I think as we kind of learned about each other, even that first day, I realized that, we may look different, but we have so much similarities. It's like I was listening to you and I was like, oh, that was me, 20 years ago when I was trying to, do everything, work full time, take care of, children on my own, and then still trying to, study and, you know, one day, I will be better person. And you had all of that. I recognize this very similar, background. And then on top of it, I learned that you actually do way more than that. You write, you publish books, and you own your own business. And so I was just so impressed. And I don't know how college now do, or they have some algorithms to match the mentor mentee, but however, whatever they did, I think they really nailed this. That's how I felt.
They did. They nailed this one.
Yes. So, I'm so glad that, I met you through this program. And, I hope that even after you graduate, I hope that if you allow me to be, still be in your life.
Oh, you're stuck with me.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
So that's kind of what you expect of your relationship going forward, that it just keeps going forward?
Yes.
Sounds perfect. Sounds perfect. In the interest of time, I think we need to move on to Andrew and Patrick, our next up. And you have some fantastic questions for each other as well. And I think you guys can take it from here.
Yeah, I'm gonna start. We had Andrew had texted and we laid it out. So you're up, Andrew. How do you think you will use what you learned from our relationship to help others? Let's hear it.
Yeah, so well, what I learned from you, Patrick, is I think it relates to the concept that people have been throwing around in a professional context, which is work-life balance. And I think I've been seeing that a little more criticized lately because it's hard to separate both. I really don't see you, Patrick, as separating both of those things all the time. I think you often like you getting me involved and in just how life is as a CEO and how you run those operations and how you manage your schedule. And I also see you do travel all the time, but I also see you traveling with family as well a lot and just having fun in Arizona or Montana, wherever it may be. And so what I learned is, life really is more holistic than it seems. And I think that would make me a better maybe mentor one day and servant in the future.
What's the phrase? Keep the main thing the main thing. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I think you say that too. Keep the main thing the main thing.
I appreciate that, Andrew.
And I guess my question for you would be, how has your life changed because of our relationship?
Yeah, I think it's validation, it's continued validation that helping others, sharing experience, sharing some of your time and resources when the expectations that we talked a little bit about judging in the beginning, there's you're just doing it to help out, not to get anything back. And it just validated that experience and to continue it on. The other thing I would say is it's okay to kind of follow your instincts to challenge people if you feel positive, if it's done in a positive way. And the quick story I want to share is in the beginning when Andrew and I were with each other, he would mention these internships or mention these different clubs that he'd want to join, and he'd get all excited about it, and then he'd say, but there's only 50 spots, or there's 5 spots and 50 people are going to apply, and I don't think I have a chance, and it's just very competitive. And at first I would say like, okay, well, like, let's try to work through that. And I'd console them a little bit. And then after hearing it a little bit, it's like, you know what, I'm going to just challenge you. Like, okay, there's 5 people. You got 1 out of 5. Like, let's go, buddy. You can do this. And just, give them that positive encouragement, just to be in his corner and help him out. And that's something I learned. Like, it's okay to be direct and challenge people, because it came from a place of caring and to help them out, right? And that's what makes it great. So it's been fun graduating in what, 6 months, 5 months.
Yep, this semester.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So awesome work. You did all the heavy lifting. So it was a good ride.
And you've been phenomenal. You've been a phenomenal mentor. I hope you keep doing it. I'd love to help if you have other mentees one day. And yeah, college now has been great in this process.
Outstanding. I think that there may be some not some dry eyes. I think there'll be some wet eyes as we keep these conversations going. Next up, Isra and Reinhold. And you guys have very specific questions teed up. The one that Isra is going to ask Reinhold, and then the one that Reinhold is going to ask Isra. So jump in.
Isra, go ahead.
Okay. What has been most memorable moment in our relationship?
I think that what I remember most is the moment that you invited me into your family home, right? Because of the meaning of that, right? So I remember that I think it's fair to say that I'm a very extroverted person and you're a very introverted person, right? You're very like reserved, and that it just takes time, and there are some big cultural differences that we worked with, right? And but at some point, you said, hey, we got this work to do, we got to work on this thing, right? Paperwork probably, or we got to call someone, set an appointment, figure out which program. And so you invited me to your house, and I remember, taking my shoes off and stepping into your living room. And I remember, your little brother buzzing around, and your mother was just so gracious. And I felt like, okay, this is what it's all about. It's all about the relationship moving you forward in life. So I just, once again, want to give a shout out to both of your parents, mom and dad, and all of your siblings, and of course to your sister Islam also, because I think it's memorable when you meet one person that really means eventually you connect it with a whole family. So the question I have for you is there something that, like the thing that stuck with you, the thing I did or I said where you went like, okay, this is like, I got to hold on to this, or what is she doing? Like, what is this all about?
Yes, actually there's a lot, but the one that is stick to me, when I first entered the college, I faced a lot of challenges, such as register the class, or navigating the FAFSA process. And I don't know, like, to connect with who, or like to ask for help. Being the first in my family to enter the college, it was overwhelming. So you stand in and guide me, and you also connect with someone in college to assist me. Like, I still remember when I called you and cry. I told you I didn't know what I should to do, and you told me, oh, everything will be okay. And yeah.
And you did that. We went together,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
It's really it's like a strange land, like this whole college thing where you have to walk into all these offices and connect with all of these people. And boy,
Yeah.
the FOSPA, it's not everyone's best friend. I've done like so many of them over the years for my own, child, and it's not necessarily fun, but we got it done. See, I remember sitting there even with your parents, right?
Yes.
So it's really been an honor and a pleasure to work with you and everyone who is around you. And I think that's what we had for today.
Yeah.
Brings us to the questions from the group, and I think Madeline is moderating and finding what the group would like to ask, the audience would like to ask.
That's right. So if you are watching and would like to submit a question, please feel free and do that quickly. But we did have one come through email. And before I ask, I do want to just thank everyone for your comments today. A lot to reflect on, and some similar themes coming out too about making time and how important the relationships are. So I heard that multiple ways from all of you. But this question actually is kind of in that vein, for mentors and for students. What would you kind of suggest or prompt to someone who is entering a mentoring relationship and has some qualms? And I think Andrew or Marissa, maybe you mentioned thinking, what is this? So if you could even go back in time, what would you tell yourself? Or what would you tell someone struggling with what this role could be? Anyone want to jump in on that?
I think it is, it makes its own way. So all these preconceived notions that I have of what I need to do and how I need to do it, I think, I've learned, and that sounds like everyone, is sort of on that train, right? That like stand back, see what's needed, listen more, really hard for me, talk less, right? And that'll help us figure it out.
How about from a student perspective? Would anyone want to be brave and jump in, even go back in time to talk to yourself starting this relationship?
Well, yeah, it's a learning experience. It's not always what you're going to be. You're going to have expectations of yourself. You're going to at least I imagined myself, 2, 3 years from back when I started college, and it was a little different. The journey turned out a little different. I accomplished some of those things, but others, I didn't get there. But that's okay because new opportunities came along, and it's important to have those guides who have been through the experience, but also just has a more adult perspective, if you will, on things. And like I said, getting that external advice, I think really is key. When when you have a goal, you have an aim, and you want to achieve it, and that's okay if you miss it. It's a learning experience.
That is a great note to end on, Andrew. Although if someone else would like to jump in, don't let me dissuade you by saying that. But yes, thank you all so much for being here with us today and sharing of your time. For everyone watching, mentors, thank you so much for all that you do. Happy Mentoring Month. And for students or mentees on the call, for all of us, really, please, as homework, think about someone who is a mentor to you and make sure to reach out to them before the end of this month and thank them or just reconnect or share your appreciation. So if we can all do that, I think that'll make this month a little bit warmer for everyone. I would again thank you all for being on this call, but a special thank you to Cowdy. And we didn't say this at the beginning, but Cowdy's actually joining us from Japan, so it is quite early in the morning. Thank you so much for making this effort, special effort. Yes, round applause. And thank you to Margaret for moderating today, for your support from Delta Dental and also from our program sponsor, the AmeriCorps Volunteer Generation Fund. We could not have program supports like these without your support, so thank you. And if you know someone who would like to be a mentor or you'd like to recommend them to work with College Now, we are recruiting mentors, and my colleague will be putting some links in the chat of the YouTube live stream. So you can definitely visit our website is the first link, and then she'll also be posting a Friday information session. Every fourth Friday, we will do an information session. So tune in or send people our way to tune in and hear more about what it would take to be like Reinhold, Cowdy, and Patrick and step up to work with one of our amazing students. So thank you all so much for being with us today. Margaret, any closing words that you'd like to add?
It appears to me that really great mentor-mentee relationships also rely a lot on chemistry, and the chemistry within these partnerships is just fabulous. You can feel it in the conversation, the comments, and just the natural flow of the relationship. So you really are a testament to quality people and quality relationships.
Absolutely. Well, thanks everyone. Have a great evening and happy National Mentoring Month.